Joseph Stalin. Stalin would become one of the most controversial figures in modern history. Under his rule, the Soviet Union transformed from a largely agricultural nation into an industrial superpower. Factories appeared across the country, railways expanded, military production exploded. But this transformation came at a terrible cost. Millions suffered under political repression. Thousands were imprisoned. Many never returned. Yet despite the brutality of his rule, Stalin succeeded in turning the Soviet Union into one of the most powerful nations on earth. Then came World War II. In 1941, Adolf Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the largest invasion in human history. More than 3 million German soldiers crossed into Soviet territory. At first, the German advance seemed unstoppable. Entire Soviet armies were destroyed. Cities fell one after another, but the Soviet Union refused to surrender. The harsh winter arrived. Supply lines collapsed. The German army began to crumble. The fighting became some of the deadliest in human history. Millions died on both sides. But when the war finally ended, the Soviet Union stood victorious. It had survived, and it had become a global superpower. After the war, a new conflict began, the Cold War. For more than 4 decades, the Soviet Union and the United States competed for global influence. Both sides built enormous nuclear arsenals. Both sides raced to dominate science, technology, and space. The world lived under the constant fear of nuclear war. Despite the tension, the Soviet Union achieved remarkable successes. It launched Sputnik, the world's first artificial satellite. It sent the first living creature into space. And in 1961, Yuri Gagarin became the first human being to leave Earth and travel into space. The Soviet Union appeared unstoppable. But beneath the surface, serious problems were growing. The economy was slowing down, corruption was spreading, government inefficiency was everywhere, and in 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. The war dragged on for years, costing billions of dollars and thousands of lives. It became a heavy burden on an already struggling economy. Then, in 1985, a new leader came to power, Mikhail Gorbachev.
Почему, когда выступал здесь господин, представляющий свою страну Конго, его остановил председатель?
Gorbachev knew the Soviet system was in trouble. He introduced major reforms. He opened parts of the economy. He reduced government control. And he improved relations with the West. But instead of saving the Soviet Union, the reforms accelerated its decline. Economic problems became worse. Shortages increased. Public trust collapsed. Then came another disaster, Chernobyl. In 1986, one of the reactors at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded. The disaster released massive amounts of radiation. Entire towns were evacuated. Thousands suffered from the consequences, and the government's attempt to hide the truth damaged its credibility even further. Across the Soviet Union, people began demanding change. Nationalist movements gained strength. Republic after republic pushed for independence. Lithuania, Estonia, Georgia, Ukraine, and many others. The Soviet Union was beginning to break apart. By 1991, the situation had become impossible to control. The economy was collapsing, political authority was disappearing, and the Union itself was falling apart. Then, on December 25th, 1991, it finally happened. The Soviet flag was lowered from the Kremlin for the last time, and the Russian flag was raised in its place. The Soviet Union had ceased to exist, a country that once stretched across continents, a nation that possessed thousands of nuclear weapons, a superpower that challenged the United States for decades. Gone, not because it was conquered by a foreign army, but because it collapsed from within. And that is how one of the most powerful empires in human history came to an end.